So yeah, upgrades are always happening. There are more and more coming, and this will be happening throughout my life, which means that, it used to be, and I'm going to talk more about this in detail. So let me just take a moment here. Sharon, wherever she went, do you want to have Hannah and Jesse? By the way, I actually have an outline.
Yes. And I wasn't reading mine. So, okay. So there's nothing important like validation. And hopefully all of you have gone and read everything that we put on there. So you have an idea as to what we're talking about. Because not everybody can wrap their mind around this. Okay. But you're open to it. So I'm going to ask if Jesse and Hannah, okay, can give their experience of their session. Okay, so why don't we call, where's Hannah? Here, Hannah.
She's right there.
Hannah, Jesse.
Hello, I'm Hannah. So I had a couple sessions with Ken at least, and how do you wrap language around some of it? So, microphone.
Yeah,
there you go. Sorry, this is not my gig. So one of the most dramatic things that happened to me, I had allergies, severe allergies, and as I was getting older, they were getting worse and worse and worse until finally I felt like a victim. Like I couldn't go out to eat with my family. I couldn't eat anything. I had to look at every label because everything would send me into just a inflamed, painful mess, right? One of the things was one day I had diligently looked at every single label, and still in the evening time I was painful and writhing around on the couch. I was like, I was so good. I looked at everything. And then we finally found out that I hadn't looked at the label on the Parmesan cheese. Oh. Who in the heck puts egg whites in Parmesan cheese? Like, you didn't think you have to look for that, but I did. So enter Ken. And I said, I cannot deal with this. I just can't deal with all this allergies. I can't deal with the pain. You have to fix me. And bless his heart, he went in there and he was like, wow, I see something wrong with your chromosome 23, and I'm getting 21, but no, it's 23. And it's on the upper right-hand side. And me being a nurse, I had to get off promptly and look up chromosome 23. And do you know that on the upper right-hand side of chromosome 23 is gene number 21 that controls lupus, MS, autoimmune stuff, hives, atopic dermatitis? I was like, dude, oh my God, what in the heck? So I was so bad that I just in March had to spend a week in the hospital because my allergies got so bad that my C6 got pinched off and I could not move either arm, and I was in excruciating pain, right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm saying they're bad, they were bad. So he tells me I'm healed. So I go, I want an egg sandwich. My husband's like,
I didn't tell her to eat the sandwich.
My husband's like, are you freaking crazy? Like, I'll start with an egg white. And Ken's like, I would have licked it. Like,
I wouldn't have done it. No.
I was like, no, I'm healed or I'm not healed. I'm not a half, kind of person. So I whipped up a big old egg sandwich with a healthy dose of cheese on that sucker and butter, which I haven't been able to eat. And I ate the entire thing, and here I am. So that really appealed to and this was all virtual, and that was another thing, because before this, I had never, ever, ever felt anything or gotten anything out of a virtual healing. I'm just a touchy-feely kind of person. And even when I do clients, I'm a Reiki master. So when I'm doing clients, I love to touch them because that's how I get my stuff, right? This guy did it on Zoom. And so this really appealed to that nursey part of myself. So then we go to the other part of myself, which is that Reiki master part that says, I want to be spiritually healed, because we all have that deficit. We all have that void. And I had a near-death experience in '94, and I have felt this incredible void since then, because I came back with all of these gifts and they were just overwhelming to me. So I just pushed them away. I didn't want to deal with them. And then I met Ken, and his gift, he's like, if you can't remember that song that, you know, nags at the back of your head, and then someone hums that tune, all of a sudden all the lyrics come flooding back to you, and you're like, yes, I remember that song, and then you sing it for the rest of the day. He is that. It is such a gift and a blessing to be able to remind people who they are and what they really are inside. And my gifts have just come flooding back, and people will just stop me and, you look so much younger, you look so much better. I'm like, dude, thank you so much, Ken, you'll be here all week. But even doing my Reiki sessions and things like that, I mean, all of the things that I serve humanity through myself have become more powerful and more present for me, and that is such a gift that appeals to my spiritual side. So no matter what you have going on, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, I feel like Ken is there to benefit us on every level. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
Thanks.
I'm not as animated as her, but I'll make it short and sweet. I have similar stories as Hannah. I started working with Ken about 2 months ago, and he's helped me figure out some things that were going on with my body. I got a rare blood disorder, and he went in and looked at my blood, and it was actually linked to bacteria, and we cleared that, and my cancer doctor tells me my blood work looks awesome now. So that's amazing. I also have a bum knee that I've had for a really long time. Thank you. I've had a bum knee for a long time, and Ken's worked on it, and I climb stairs every day now. So that's I'm looking forward to Mount Shasta this summer, hiking with my girls. Also, I do body work for a living, and my clients tell me that my sessions are much more intense and powerful since I started working with Ken. So it's been a huge blessing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, you know, both of you, thank you very much. And I will say that had I worked on you guys back in October, I think the results would have been different. Again, right, it's these upgrades that have come through that have just skyrocketed things. As you talk about chromosome, I saw 21 and 23 up to the right, whatever that may have meant. I'd have no idea. Again, right, the whole phrase in the beginning, I'm not a doctor. I literally know nothing about anatomy unless I saw it in a coloring book. So by not knowing that, everything that comes in is organic, right? I don't study charts, I don't look at this, you know, when I'm doing someone's spine, I'm not counting the vertebrae, oh, see something, whatever, I have no idea. They do everything. So again, thank you very much. I just wanted to take the time, again, you know, I had everyone show hands to let you know how many people have actually done the sessions, some actual testimonies. So with that being said, I'm going to get into what has changed since I started. And I got a little list here so I remember. So one of the things that I can do is childhood trauma. Now, when I first started doing this, it was so difficult. Now, what would happen here is I would bring up the childhood versions, 0 through 15, and each one is a light body, right? And I would simply say, hey, the ones that don't have childhood trauma, you know, leave, fall down, or basically don't present yourself, and then I would deal with the ones that were there. Talking to children's hard, because I would, you know, talk to the 3-year-old or the 4-year-old, which is usually kind of where it starts for most people at least, and they would be so stubborn. They wouldn't trust me. They wouldn't allow me to have a conversation, but I had to get in there to find out what the problem is. So I would finally get their trust, and then they would show me the emotion, and they would, I'm making this part up just to make it easy, but they say, oh, you know, Daddy doesn't love me, Daddy's not around, right? Or Daddy drinks, whatever it is. So then I'm like, okay. Then I would hop my conscious into Daddy, and I would be able to understand Daddy's story, and then tell the child the perspective of Dad, right? Dad was abused, as an example. And then I could jump into his dad, and I can see all that. I can literally jump from conscious to conscious and understand the emotions. And then by doing this, I could give the child a different perspective of why they weren't loved. And ultimately, them knowing it wasn't the child themselves was the release, right? So I would do this geez, for 13 or 14 different years, and it would take 2 sessions. And it was traumatic. It's like trying to tell people why things have happened and those details was tough for a lot of people. And then I had other clients that'd be like, well, I want the details of a specific event, which I got to tell you, I refused to get into because I didn't want to take on the trauma. I didn't want to see the event of that trauma and take it on. So that's how it was. Let's fast forward to now. Now, I say, listen, line up age 0 through age 15. The angels come down and stand behind every single one of them, and they take what's like a lasso, a rope, and they spin it over the child, goes up, and the child, if there's trauma, will release what I call a trauma ball. Like a red Dodge, like a red ball, just a red ball in different sizes, but red, and they give it to me. And then they leave with the angels. No more story needed, no more perspective, and I can do the entire thing in about 10 minutes. So very, very, very big difference. So ultimately, now we don't have a story we have to worry about, because that's the other thing, is I used to provide the story of a situation, and I have found that the clients would then grab that story and try to dig into that story, and they would spend so much time trying to figure out, geez, what was that car accident? Geez, what was going on with, and it would just drive them crazy because they couldn't remember the answer. So there are no more stories. I get in there, do the job, do the job, do the job, because what I'm doing is I'm just releasing energy. So I work in the quantum field. Yes, I'm a walk-in, and that walk-in is a quantum scientist, okay, out there and all way out there. And what this means is that when I'm actually looking at somebody, I'm not looking at them in front of me. I'm not looking at their aura, right? I have them up there in the quantum. And I'm moving energy around, and ultimately in the quantum, I'm grabbing that version of them that's healed. And I'm pulling it in. And it shows up instantly in this reality. So that's the easiest way for me to explain it. And the reality is this is the only way I understand it either, because I don't know that stuff, right? The other version of me does that stuff and doesn't really give me his cliff notes, right? Just do it, do it, do it. So I'm going to talk to you about some other examples and help you understand what's going on. So we talk about stuck emotions in the body, right? So a lot of our pain and our trauma are from stuck emotions, whether they be your emotions, somebody else's emotions, something from the childhood, right? This causes the illness. Now, this is how I see it. Again, every single thing is energy, and that's what I'm dealing with. So in the beginning, back hurts, right? I would have to go into the back, and I'd see a red spot on the shoulder. I'm like, okay, well, it's on the left. That's got to be masculine. And I would feel into, again, as an example, that's a daddy issue or a relationship issue, right? And then I had to get in there to understand a little bit more about that. And finally, when I got the answer of what the actual stuck emotion was, I was allowed to pull it out. And then the healing would begin. Again, it would take a while for the client. That was tough, especially if it shows up in red. If there's red spots all over the body, right? I'm like, oh geez, we got a lot of work to do here, right? So let's fast forward. When I do a healing, the very first thing I do, it's going to sound a little gross here, but I will grab, as an example, the back on the left side. I will grab the top of the shoulder and kind of pull the skin off. Now it's red, right? And it's not skin I'm pulling off. I'm just trying to give you an example of how that works. So when I pull it down, it's like pulling fat off the body. And then when it's red fat. And sometimes it's really, 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 really thick, and other times it's really, really thin. I pull that off. All the emotions that are attached to that part of the body are instantly removed. And then I use my heart to basically make it look, as I say, normalized. Make it look normal, no red. All right, so that's one of the things that happens now. So if you have a knee problem, I'll get in there and I'll look for that, and I'll pull that emotion right out. I no longer need to know why it's there. It doesn't need to be feminine, it doesn't need to be masculine, it doesn't need to have a story. Boom, boom, boom. So that's an example of stuck emotions in the body. So bones and joints. So these are a little interesting. When I'm doing a hip a knee, a shoulder. Again, I'll still see red, and I'll take that process where I'll pull that off. But then I'll get into the bone, and I'll look around. Now, I do not see the body like you would, a doctor would, all right? I see the body in a way that helps me understand what's going on. So if you have an impingement, right, I will actually move, in my mind's eye, the knee all the way up to see if it has full flex. And if it doesn't, I will use the thing I do, and I will remove that impingement. All right, but I'm also listening, because I'll hear it click. I'm also feeling, because I'll feel the pain. Like, I'll know if it's hyperextended with pain, and then, for instance, I might go to the back of the leg and heal the back of the leg or the muscle. I'll move it side to side. Does it wiggle? Right? And then I'll adjust that. And then at the end of it, I move it all around, and everything is good. Then I say, hey, stand up and move your knee. Every time. It's done. It's done. Now, sometimes it's not perfect. They'll be like, oh, it hurts a little bit. So then I'll jump back in there, and I'll fix the little, the owie or the boo-boo where they point. And so, it's a little bit of cleanup work, but all in all, a knee takes seconds, 60 seconds or so, and we're going to have a little fun here in a little while, and I'll demonstrate. But that's an example. Same thing with the shoulder, same thing with the hip. I'll be able to see the hip vibrating when it's dislocated or out of alignment, and I'll be able to pull it back up. Again, most things show up in red, and I'm able to get in there. Now, there are other views that I have. So think of a camera that has different lenses on it. We have the lens that I just explained, call it the flesh lens if you want, or the emotional lens. I actually like that better. And then we have a clear lens. The clear lens is like a doctor or whatever looking through a microscope at a petri dish, a white petri dish. And in there you see little white bacteria or whatever, okay? So this is one of my lenses. And what's actually happening here is I'm looking at that area in another dimension, another dimensional aspect. So the energy isn't one frequency, one dimension, it's multiple dimensions, and I'm tapping into those in the same location. So here, every time I'll see these bacteria, and it's not bacteria, I'm just trying to give you a visual of what it is, where I take a syringe, no needle, just the syringe part, and I push it against it, and I pull the syringe. And all of that just gets sucked into the syringe, and I throw it over my shoulder. Okay? There's another view I have. This one's a little creepy. It's a yellow lens. Now, again, another dimension. Now for this one, you get bugs, you get creepy crawlies, you get all sorts of insect-type stuff in the same area that are buried and burrowed into that area. Syringe. I pull the whole thing out, toss it over my shoulder. Now, they just introduced a new one this week, which is a really dark blue one. For whatever reason, it's really hard to see, but it's just another layer I have to dig into to pull out the energy, period. Throw it all away, I'm like, get up and walk. And then I can validate and verify. Now, if they still have a problem, I'll close my eyes again, I'll look at it again. Now, sometimes it'll reoccur. And what I do is I just kind of turn my head off, and I pop, nice little gator, sorry, and I pop my head back into it. And if it still shows up, that's a clue that there's another energy tied to it. Ancestral trauma, as an example. Soul contract, as an example. And they'll tell me what it is. If it's a soul contract, I will talk to your guides, and I will get their permission and their blessing to remove this illness from you. Because while I can do a lot of things, I can't touch the contract you created for yourself without permission. Okay? And it's only happened once where they said no. Otherwise, they allow it to be rewritten. So we have situations with ancestral trauma. So there are times where things in our body just can't be easily diagnosed, right? But there's pain, there's inflammation, there's situations. And I will be able to see the trauma event from an ancestor who I don't name, I don't get in to find out how many generations they're back. But I will go into that ancestor, the angels will come down, I will heal them just like I do childhood trauma, remove that, the energy's broken, the relief comes almost instantly for the client. So those are just examples of how I see things. And I'm sure when I'm here in 3 months, I'd be like, I'm just walking through the crowd and it's being done. Like, it's going to get easier and easier. And by the way, there are reports from people who I've stood next to who are getting healings, and I'm not actually doing the work. I'm getting those feedback from other people. Same thing with activations, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So I kind of already talked about muscles, and a little bit it kind of goes along with the body part, but organs are interesting. So kind of the same thing with organs, but I'll give you an example. Like when I look at the stomach, now I'm kind of looking at it in a flesh way. Like if I was in the stomach, I'm looking at the stomach. And often, for the examples, in the stomach, I will see little stomach pumps. You know, little stomach pumps, acid in there, right? And I'm able to determine or feel if that acid is the cause of the problem. I'm able to see the fluid coming out, if it's going too fast, if it's not enough. And then I just change the little jet nozzles on them. Clear it all up. I can go through the intestine and clear all that up. I can see watermelon seeds and things like that in the intestine and pull those out. So the view is a little different when I do organs, but still, I'm removing the energy with the syringe, I'm pulling off the trauma, but I can get into that layer. The brain's fun. I can see the synapses in the brain and see where they're not connecting, and just with the intention, begin to make them reconnect. And I can see different trauma in there. And my wife loves it because I fix every one of her headaches. She's like, she calls me up, hey, I got a headache. I'm like, all right, 2 minutes later, she goes, good. So this happens a lot. But yeah, so that works. You know, you talked about the DNA. Again, that's new. I'm finding more and more they are presenting the DNA strands in front of me, and they'll show it one of the, you know, we got the ladder, if you will. Usually one of the ladders, one of the runs, or one of the ladders on the other side are dark, which is the indication that something's damaged in the DNA. Then I'll go in and they'll present the chromosome, and each chromosome kind of shows up like an X, but you know, bacteria, whatever, you can look at the pictures in the books, right? It shows up an X, and they will either be dull or dark, as in no energy to them. The one the other day was spinning really violently, and I will pull them out, and I will pull in the version of your original body blueprint. This is what happened with you. I pull in that version, it just sends, and I gotta tell you, it's 30 seconds. Literally is 30 seconds, and I'm done. But Hannah's interesting because she was one of the first people who was able to quickly report back to me, hey, it actually did something. Where other times, you can imagine, how are you going to know your DNA is actually repaired until you have blood work or until you have something else to tell you, hey. But yeah, so this is happening, and it's happening more and more and more. And the more I do it, the more I trust the process. So, you know, channel messages versus intuition. So this is interesting. Now, I used to run, you know, back in October, January, on intuition. Can I channel? Yes, but it's really no fun for people. You know, I'm not that channeler that gives these amazing messages of love and beauty and hope and all these things. That's that kind of channel. When I channel, it's 2 or 3 sentences, it's really, really quick, and I'm just trying to get it out because I don't know what they're going to say. So now the channeling has become more smooth. And it's not just my guides or my team that does the channeling. Angels will often come in and do the channeling. Extraterrestrials at times will come in and do the channeling, whatever message needs to get out there. So that's happening more and more and more. Where previously, it was the gut instinct, it was the intuition. I'm like, I think the message is such and such. But now, they do it. And they just do it through me. So I will say that back in October-ish, occasionally I would use med beds. So I do have access to a ship, and I would take people up there and allow the ETs to work on them. I still have access, but I don't need to take anybody anymore. Like, I don't need the med beds. I'm doing the work, I'm doing it here, and I'm doing it now. So a very big, yeah, but I can still take you. I can still take you. So you know, those are the big differences, right? From all this, what I call manual labor now, to me just showing up and having a conversation with the person, hey, what is really going on? And I'm listening. I really forget everything they say. Shh, don't tell them. I really forget everything they say, but what's really happening here is they are communicating their intent to the process. You know, I had someone show up the other day they had 6 or 7 questions about spirituality, about their mission, about, they wanted some really deep questions answered. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be tough, right? I'm like, listen, why don't you just hold off on your questions and let's just let the session flow. So we did. We completely forgot about the questions the entire session. We get done, and he looks down at his sheet, check, 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 check. Every single one of his questions, he got the answers to, without us actually knowing that was going to happen. So this is how this works. And as Hannah said, it's done over Zoom. Now, we do the in-persons here. I'm here. She puts me to work for 6 straight days, and she doesn't feed me. She doesn't water me. No. So when I'm here, it's fantastic to see me in person. But I have seen people wanting to wait until the next time I'm here. Don't wait. When you're ready, you're ready. You'll know you're ready. And it's a Zoom. So don't think I need to be in front of you to have things happen. It doesn't have to be. And in fact, there are times I'll get a text message or whatever from so-and-so, hey, and like my wife, headache, and it's done. I don't have to connect to you. I don't have to have you in front of me. I can just connect. And this happens often in a session. Someone will be like, so-and-so, can you connect to so-and-so and tell me why this particular situation is happening, right? And I'm like, yes. I'm not going to tell you too much. I don't want to invade on someone else's privacy. But I can connect to anybody and read the emotions and understand why they feel like they feel, why they behave like they behave. And it helps the person understand, well, it's not me, right? So I don't have to have them in front of me. So anyways, that's kind of it. I do want to explain a little bit about meditation real quick. We have all been taught, at least many of us have been taught, when we meditate, we go in. And that's so true. And we look for this really quiet, silent place. And we just try to bring in the energy or just try to find some peace and quiet. I got to tell you, if you can do that, my hat's off. Because I can't get it. I can't be silent. And my God, I tried. I'm like, I got 3 seconds into it. And then eventually I'm working up to 30 seconds. And that was about the max of total silence. There's a better way to do this. When you do meditate and you bring in, you connect, don't sit there in quiet. Ask questions. All right? And this is actually showing up in a lot of my sessions. Me giving them the connection they need to know they have the connection, because so many of us are in doubt. Who am I really talking to? I'm not really hearing anything. Why am I not going on? And you know what? It's just understanding. It's there. You just have to do it a little different. So my meditations are not meditations. It's me closing my eyes, dropping in, putting down my recorder, and I speak everything that I do because, yes, I forget everything I'm doing in my meditation, so I record them. And just boom, 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 boom. All right? And everyone can do this. Everyone can do this. So it's a little different process. Okay? There is some downfall to what I do on a personal level. So I'm non-polarity. And what that means, and I don't want to say unity, I don't want to confuse that. And I don't want, we say non-polarity, and what that means is if you see News Channel A telling the same exact video and story of News Channel B, who has a different story but the same video, non-polarity means I don't care. I don't care about that story, I don't care about that story. I don't tune into any of it. But the reality is that it makes it difficult when I'm in front of someone who has a legitimate emotional problem. I can't relate. I can't grasp it. And in social situations, you guys want to talk spirit? Man, I gotcha. I'll have those conversations all day long. But if you want to talk about sports, you want to talk about the local stuff, I'm absolutely unable to hold those conversations. So while I do what I do, I still have these issues where I can't relate to things that everyone else does on a daily basis. And I kind of, touched on this earlier when I said, I lost all that trauma during my walk-in. I don't have the ability to relate to somebody's trauma. Client can be absolutely in front of me, bawling their eyes out because of a certain situation or a certain thing. And I'm sitting there like this. Just waiting. I don't have words. I can't explain it. I can't help it. I got to let them process it. And I feel bad, but I don't. because I don't feel that, because that's a lower vibration, right? But this makes it difficult to relate to people, and it makes people look at you like, my God, why is that guy so cold? Now, I make the joke, yes, I'm a guy and I don't have those emotions, haha. But the reality is, it's really very serious for me. I can't relate to those things, and it makes everyday normal conversation about someone who's had a bad day at work. All right. So I just wanted to share that a little bit with you. So I talked to you guys a little bit about what it's like in a private session, right? And what I'm doing. And what's really happening here is my heart's doing the work. This other version of me is doing the work. But I do group events. There's one Saturday. And this is very, very different. In the group events, I do not go around and touch everyone on the shoulder and do it. None of that stuff, right? I walk you through a very, very special, particular visualization that brings in these healing energies that go through the body. Now, these healing energies will give you exactly what you want and probably a little bit more than you wanted, meaning that it's going to work on the heart, the trapped emotions in the heart, okay? It's going to work on the trauma in the root chakra. For those of you who are ready, it's going to start working on the third eye and opening that up more. For us that have, or those that have energy around them that's causing problems, it'll remove that energy. There is the divinity, the angels will come down and amplify the healing. Now that's one of the latest things that came out. And there's actually a new thing coming in as well. I'm trying to remember all my notes, because when I'm doing this, I just do it, right? I think there's 7 things that happen in group meditation. Now the difference is that you will walk away, and for the next 7 days, probably won't be your greatest days. You will be emotional. As I say, the guys will be on the couch in the fetal position, crying, wondering what is going on. You know, thinking their estrogen's off. I'm making fun of you, sorry. But this will happen. You will find yourself sleeping 12 hours a day, or just the opposite, absolutely wired. You will find people shifting in your life that no longer have a purpose or serve you energetically. Your life will change. And you will notice this over the next 7 days in a very, very in-your-face way. And then it will continue on and on and on. So as I do these one-on-one sessions, it's my body learning how to do it automatically. And those things will then get transferred to the group sessions. So I tell everyone, if you've had a one-on-one, you also need to do the group if you feel called to it. So those are really the big differences. Let me just a second. I get to flip my page now. The energetic cord cutting, yes, that's correct. I pretty much did that. So what I want to do now, and we're about an hour into this or so, we're going to do a healing. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to call it, well, my friend, just to make it completely unbiased, is going to call in someone and have them come up here, and don't raise your hand if you're not willing, and I'm going to do a really quick healing on you. So again, if you're willing, and we're going to limit this. Back problem, a knee, or a shoulder. So if anybody wants to volunteer and have those conditions, raise your hands. And Ildigo, why don't you go ahead and grab someone you...
This is Ildigo.
Yeah, this is Ildigo, my dearest friend. You're my dearest friend too. She does take dollar bills.
I'm gonna have the second lady from this row. Yeah.
That's interesting because I have all 3 problems.
Yeah. Well, you're only getting to choose one today. Yeah. So what would you like me to work on?
Shoulder, my knee, or
Shoulder, knee, or lower back?
actually my lower back. Is
Okay. And do you have that discomfort right now?
Yes.
Okay. So, are you ready? So this is the part where I'm going to try to articulate what I do, but I I just mumble to myself that version. All right, so now I'm feeling the sweat. All right, hold on. Give me just a second. I'm going to just drop down here. Just get you where I need to be. Just going to clear some energy. I'm sorry, I bring this a little closer. All right, sorry, we're lower back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see it. Go ahead and pull this down. So I'm pulling the skin off, or the flesh, or the emotions right now. She's not going to notice this. Most people don't notice it while it's happening. So hold on. Pull it out. I can do this with my eyes open, but I actually prefer it with it's closed. Pull that, pull that, pull that. Pull that out. Grab the other side. Grab it. And pull it. Keep going. Sorry. Let me do the clear lens view, please. Thank you. And this is me thanking myself, ironically. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Go ahead and bring up the yellow lens. Got it. And here I'm seeing, again, the yellow lens is the bugs and creeper crawlies, larvae in this particular case. Just pulling that out. Blue, looks good. Take my eyes off of it and bring it back. Okay, almost done. Pull out. Come on. Thank you. There's some energy attached to this that I need to deal with. So just real quick, stand up and move your lower back around. Any change?
Yeah, it's not as painful as it was when I was sitting down.
Do you still have pain?
Hmm?
Do you still have discomfort? Because I think you still have some discomfort. And by the way, I just did the lower back. I didn't do the whole back.
Yeah,
So it still have some, right?
I still have some.
Right in the middle. Okay. So again, there's something else attached to it. I got to go a little deeper and a little different. All right. I see it rebuilding. Okay. Close that off. Thank you. Grab it. Okay. All right, so they're telling me there's ancestral stuff here, which is, I didn't think this was going to go this direction. Give me a moment. Bring this in. Okay. And I do see broken back, but I see an attack on this ancestral that sliced the lower part of the back. Okay, that's fine. Bring the angel in. Okay. Shikadiyala ama ni shikupupu yata. Shinila shikupupu yata kata shinito baliani yata. Hayani chichukupupu yata. Shiliata ni tukuporiani yata kata. I'm talking to that ancestral. Yamayana. Grab the trauma ball. The angel's going to take him up. Go ahead and stand up now, see if any changed.
Oh, yeah, it has.
Okay, is it gone?
Gone.
Oh, again, I just literally did the lower back.
Yeah. I think like L4, L5.
I don't know where those are at.
Anyhow, I think that.
Where's the owie and the boo-boo? That's all I understand. And like I said, I just did the very lower back, like the belt line, if you will, is kind of the area I worked on.
Mm-hmm.
How is it?
It's better.
Is it gone?
I don't know if it's gone, but
Yeah, it's not
not
gone.
as painful.
Right, it's not gone.
No.
Okay, so that was a test. Hold on a minute. You can have a seat. You don't need to. We're both sitting. Hold on. Okay. Show me this again, please. Pull that out. Okay. Pull that out. Heal it. Okay, now look at the spine. This is me telling me what to do. I gotta tell you, living with me has got to be a charm. Okay, I see something going on with the disc. Just gonna go ahead and repair that. There's a hole there. Fill that up. On the inside, pull that down. Thank you. All right, last time. You should be all right. Pretty darn close if not. So go ahead and stand up and just I'm sorry, you can hold that and just, I don't, sorry if you couldn't hear her.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
so,
Yeah, no, well, I don't feel the immediate pain right there.
right, just in the area.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so that's good.
You passed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
So, that's just an example on how fast it is, and it does stay. All right, but I didn't do her shoulder or the other thing because I want her to sign up. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We didn't have enough time, but ultimately I just wanted to demonstrate, and I wanted people to see it. Again, right? We have a testimonial, right? We have everyone show of hands, and those people that did show their hands, bump them on the shoulder, ask them about their experience, and like Sharon said, this really it's about getting the word out. We're not advertising, all right? We're not going that route. It is word of mouth. It is here going forward. Yes, I'm sorry.
So the
Yeah.
the arthritis in my 3 fingers is almost completely gone.
So again, right? Like I told you, people standing next to me are getting this, and I know my team's doing it. But by the way, I got a cramp in my left foot. No, I'm kidding. I know my team's doing it, but I don't know everything they're doing. So just in proximity is beginning to happen. And again, another 3 months. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Was a question.
Well, I'm going to let you ask that question. Yes, and I'll come closer to you.
Have you ever worked with somebody with drug addiction, anxiety and drug addiction?
I have worked with somebody who came to me with drug addiction. And so anxiety, yeah, absolutely. All right. Wonderful session today with an individual that definitely had anxiety, had other things happening, right? And we were able to go in there and look at the energy causing that. Now, with that particular thing, it takes a little while for everything to settle down, right? But she had relief, and she was able to validate there was relief at the time. My team, is putting harder and harder, more complicated things in front of me that I have no idea what's going on. I mean, there was a beautiful lady the other day that gave me an acronym for a genetic condition. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But they went in and they showed me DNA 3, 5, 7, 9, and DNA 13 was just rapidly spinning. So I went in there and repaired all of those. Now again, in this particular case, am I going to know, or is the client going to know, hey, that resolved it? She probably will in time when the symptoms no longer show up. But yes, things are getting more and more intense. Can I work on that? Listen, at the end of the day, there's only one thing I have not been able to do. I can't fix your eyes. I can't fix my eyes, okay? Can't fix your eyes. All right, so this is changing. In the next 2 months or so, that'll come online. They're telling me there's another thing coming in to do that. I also think hearing is a little kind of shaky for me to work on too. So a few things, right? But beyond that, everything seems to have results. Okay. So with that being said, how many of you guys want to experience a little bit of the group thing tonight? All right. So, as I think we mentioned in the advertisement, they want to bring in hope and happiness, I think it was, and also unconditional self-love. Now, I haven't done this before, this meditation, right? I work on all the other stuff, but they're like, you know what, you can do this. I'm like, all right, and I haven't practiced. Is everyone ready? All right, so this really isn't a meditation per se. It's a guided visualization. All right, and I just want everyone to kind of close their eyes and drop into their quiet spot. And I just want to prelude this with, you can't get it wrong. All right, it doesn't matter if I'm going too fast or you're going too fast or too slow, or if the visualization isn't right. Don't struggle, just allow. Everyone's different, and some people can't even visualize. It's okay, just be in the heart, and we're going to take this through with you. All right, I am going to sit down for this, however, okay? Actually, take my shoes off for this, sorry. All right, let me. Everyone ready? I think they are. Just drop in. Okay. I'm opening up the crystal grid now. And the crystal grid is going to attach to your spine. This is for grounding. It's going to go all the way up the spine. Just relax. Some of you may feel some of this and some may not. Just give this a moment. Get to visualize tree roots growing from the bottom of your heart. Allow these tree roots to go down your body and down both your legs, all the way to your feet. Continue to grow those tree roots out through your feet and into Mother Earth. Keep bringing them down and down, all the way down until you hit the core of the earth. When you hit the core, you're going to wrap those tree roots around counterclockwise 3 times. And when you do that, you're going to pull those roots nice and tight with love. Just snug with love, I guess. Just go ahead and make that connection. Okay, I'm opening the galactic realms now. You can visualize a pink light. It's from the Sirius star system coming down of you, down into your crown. Allow that pink light to come down the center of your body, all the way till it touches your heart. And ground that light, the pink light from the Sirius star system, into the top of your heart. Now I want you to look at that light, and I want you to make it a little wider, a little brighter, and a little thicker. I want you to visualize a white light coming down from the Octana star system. Doesn't matter where that's at. Just visualize a white light, again coming down the top of your crown, top of the head, and into the top of the heart again, right next to the pink light. So see the white light anchor into the top of the heart. And again, a little wider, a little brighter, and a little thicker. I want you to visualize a soft red energy coming from Venus. This is going to come down over the top of your head like a very fine, soft red mist. Allow this mist to go down the outside of your body and totally encompass the outside of your body. Visualize that mist entering through the skin, and just visualize it totally entering your entire body. This beautiful soft red mist. I'll give you all a moment. Just fill yourself up with it. I'd like you to open up your heart. I'd like you to visualize a green tunnel of light. That green tunnel of light is connected to your open heart. Your heart's in the middle of it. And the other end of that green tunnel is connected to my open heart. I want you to see and visualize your heart and my heart in this beautiful green tunnel. Open your heart up. Sometimes you can open it up as if there's a flower. If you don't know how, just whatever visualization works. Now I want you to see the pink heart emojis that I'm sending you down this tunnel. They're bouncing down the tunnel. And I want you to see those pink heart emojis going into your heart. Look at them. Focus on them. Watch them actually go into your heart and your heart absorb them. Now for the next few moments, focus on just that. Notice what you notice about your body and how you feel, but watch those heart emojis. So please sit tight. Keep watching those hearts. Keep watching them. Keep watching them. I'll let you know when we're done. They're still being delivered. Just keep watching them. Almost there. And we're done. Come out of that when you're ready. Let's give everyone a few more moments. See a lot of eyes closed still. So again, this is the first time I've delivered this, and just with a show of hands, have you felt, seen, or experienced something with that? Just to raise your hands, roll up high so everyone can see these, please, and just turn around to look. Okay, and with the group healing, one of the questions I ask, and I'm curious, did anyone have a change in their heartbeat? Okay, just you. I actually thought the answer would be no.
Fluctuation.
Little fluctuation. So the other one on Saturdays, you'll actually feel your heart getting rapid and rapid and rapid. So this will unfold in 3 days. But I am curious, again, first time I've delivered it. Hope and happiness, hands up. Anyone feel that? Just look around, folks. It's holding up high so everyone can see this. I want people to recognize. Okay? And then finally, does anyone feel any more unconditional love for self, at least initially? Just open your hands, lift your hands up again, and if people look, don't look at me, look at everyone else. This is what I just wanted everyone to experience. This is the first time I've done this in these lectures, and it's my gift to you. So that's the presentation, folks. I'm happy to answer questions if you guys have time. I have time. Any questions? Yeah.
You said when you do a healing, does the problem come back if the patient or the person continues on a negative?
Great question. I think what you're asking is, when I do a healing, does the condition come back, right? The answer is 99% of the time, no. However, if there's still an underlying situation, a behavior that's being repeated, yes, it'll come back. Also, things do come in layers, meaning that, as an example, if you hold emotions just as a natural process, you may find that area kind of re-engaging as you hold that emotion. It might need to be cleared again. But typically, no. I don't get repeat customers. So, okay. Any other questions? I'll come back here. Run back here so I can hear you as well. Yes.
What is the language, or what are you intoning?
Okay, so I'm speaking light language. So for those of you who have a religious background or understanding, light language can also be kind of associated with speaking in tongues. But the difference is, I speak, they tell me, over 500 different languages. And ultimately, this is the universe bringing down not words, but programs, but codes and frequencies that bypass your ears, bypass the brain. Okay? And it goes directly to your soul or your heart. The reason this is because we all have an ego. And our egos are wonderful. And what they do is they will intercept, and even our brain will intercept a word and misinterpret it or interpret it a different way. Okay? So it's designed to completely bypass our human mechanism and go directly to the part it needs to be done. So the different languages I speak really depends on what I'm speaking to. So if I'm doing entity removal on somebody, I will speak the language that they speak to ask them to take a hike. Okay? Any other questions? Yes.
You had mentioned at one point something about activations.
Okay.
Could you speak to that and how the new information around seeing DNA and chromosomes and potentially activating encodements there might be coming through?
So let me just ask clarity, then I'll repeat the question. Are you talking about activations for somebody or activations for me?
Activations for somebody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those who are on a spiritual journey, all right, and have done a lot of the groundwork, the shadow work, they've already kind of went through, what do they call that, the dark night of the soul, or whatever that is, right? Right. Well, they've done the work and they're ready to level up. About 3 weeks before they're ready, they'll start getting this really strange, man, something's coming, right? And then they'll be in front of me. And I will bring in their activations. Now, when I say I bring them in, I am just a vessel, all right? So the angels may show up. If you are ET, that part of you, the ETs may show up. And they will take you to a planet, and they will do activations on there with crystals and things like that. Lately, the angels have been showing up, and they've been showing some folks the divinity kingdom. All right, and they've been giving them access to that and letting them know. Every single person is different. So, yeah, when you're ready, whatever you're ready for will come through to me, and I will be able to deliver that, and that will set you on your next upgrade. Does that help to understand that? Okay, absolutely. Let me run back here real quick.
You had the experience when you were removing a stubborn entity on someone. Does something from their lineage or kingdom on the other side come through to help you?
Oh yeah, I like that. Sorry, let me come back up here. I'm hearing your voice. So the question is when I do entity removal or energy removal that is tough, right? My team will show up. Teams, but the angels they've always got my back. They've always got my back. I did a entity removal, if you will, on probably one of the biggest things I've encountered recently. And again, no fear, but this thing was hundreds and hundreds of feet tall. And the angel showed up. As an example, when the angel stood next to this entity, it was about a 1/4 inch in size. So imagine the size, and very, very wide. One angel didn't show up. Thousands showed up. And they went around the base of his feet, and they piled on. I don't know how you would describe like a cheerleading thing where the cheerleaders pile on top of each other. Well, they piled on top of him, and they crawled all the way up him. And I do my work, the dirty work, I do it in a pyramid. They filled the entire pyramid up. Now, the angels are funny. They're a little secretive. They won't show me what they're doing. When they work on someone, they will take that person and they'll look at me like, you wait here? And they do that work and the person comes back. In this particular case, they filled the whole pyramid up with thousands and thousands of angels. Now these angels had armor on, right? They were there to do the divinity warrior work, if that's how you want to call it. Now I can't do anything. I'm just sitting there, right? I'm like, oh geez, get some coffee, what's going on? And then they started to come off. And when they came off, what was left was a stick figure. And it looked like soda straws, like the stick figure of soda straws. Absolutely removed all the consciousness and the energy of this entity. Now, this particular entity, when I went into it, it was dark. We talk about the dark and the light. Well, this was the dark, but not the dark we know. It was the way they explained it, it was a spin-off of another realm of darkness that was working on the entire galaxy. Because I went into let's have a conversation. So I don't approach these things with anger. I don't approach them with anything I'm doing to them. And he showed me the galaxy, and he showed me the planets, people, not the exact, but how they worked through the people to begin spreading their energy. So we had that conversation, and the angels showed up. So absolutely, they show up all the time. If I can't do the work, I'm like, hey, somebody, and they are there every time. So anyhow, thank you. Great question. I appreciate that. What else do we have? Yeah.
You mentioned something about crystals coming for the healing.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that more?
Yeah, so the extraterrestrials don't necessarily come through for their healing. Okay? So I do ET stuff, right? I have access to ETs. I'm a liaison, so I will introduce people to their galactic family and kind of do a handshake introduction. Hey, and here's Sarah, here's Bill. And they have a conversation, and they actually develop a relationship. I know it sounds funny, but this is what happens. I connect them, all right, and they show up. The ETs don't show up for everybody, and they certainly don't show up for those that are like, you know what? I haven't seen a UFO. I don't want to know. They're not going to intrude. And in fact, just a little side note, I've never seen a UFO or a single light in the sky, and they have never been in my backyard. But up there. So there's that. I do have access to ET ships. Ships I have access to, I have some different technology. It's called the ball of consciousness. It contains like the but for all the universes. And I'm able to tap into that and see all that. So a lot of different stuff on the ship other than just a med bed. Does that help?
Yeah.
I'm a little crazy. I don't talk about the ETs much, folks, because it's so wild and so far out there that it's more about the healing right now, and that stuff's coming when that stuff comes. So cool. I'm sorry, I saw another hand.
I was just going to ask you, say you have access to some of the ships,
Mm-hmm.
and can you say one particular ET race, or is it mixed, or?
I got to tell you, I have named ET races that I have no I or I am is how they explained it. One was called the Arginis, which was interesting. They all have different names. I rarely connect to the Arcturians or the Andromedans or Palladians. So I'm outside of all of that. Outside of all of it. And so those races that are not part of that initiative, they come through me, and others I'm sure, but they come through me to get in touch with those they have connections with. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
On the strands of DNA, can you talk about beyond 12?
Okay, so I can't talk about the strands of DNA beyond 12. I have access up to 76 or something like that. All right, and some of those who, I believe I've got 63 activated now. But it's a numbers game. All right, and it's also a polarity question. Now let me explain. You can read a dozen books out there. Some will say, my gosh, there's only 12. There's 24. There's 128. Like everyone's got a different perception and view. And in fact, if you ask somebody, what is DNA number, fill in the blank, they probably won't be able to tell you unless you're actually looking at a book that says the DNA number 64 does this. But that is a polarized view. It's an opinionated view. It may be channeled. It may have been channeled. But that channeled message is still a polarized view. I will tell you what I do with DNA other than just activate it. I do something called DNA resequencing. Don't let the name fool you. This is not something that I do often, and it's very time consuming. But I'll go into your DNA, and it usually starts with DNA number 1, and they'll show me a story. They'll show me a story about you, about your galactic history as a whole. They're not going to tell you this planet, that planet, you've been this, none of that. Just give you a general story about who you are that you can relate to. And then I go up the ladder, and in each one of those DNA, what they're doing is they are unlocking an aspect of you that you already have technology. It's all there. It's just unlocking it, and it's a story I tell. Sometimes it's the ability to change the way your cells process energy so that the energy flows through you clearer. Other times it's like an antenna creating frequencies to bring in more of the family, things like that. Everyone is different. It's very time consuming, and at the end there's always a party. So I can only get through 5 or 6 of the DNA, and that party is really interesting because everybody, every race, again, it's only for those folks that are ready for it, and so I don't talk too much about it, but every race you've ever been involved with, a single representative will show up, and usually it's in a stadium the size of the Rome Stadium, the Coliseum. Thousands and thousands of different species will show up to celebrate you, and then there's messages for you. So that happens, but you know, not often, and it's not something I do a lot because it is few people are ready to have that entire experience. But anyways, I can't tell you DNA number 13 does this. Every single person's different. Okay, does that help answer your question? Okay, thanks. Do we have any more questions? Oh, yes.
What if you think you're ready to know, but physiologically it may affect you in a negative way that you're not aware, but you choose that?
So fear.
Yeah, like when you were talking about heart, I immediately had chest pain.
Okay.
As soon as you started talking. Now, is it emotional? Is it physical? Probably both.
Okay.
Knowing my genetic history on both sides. At my age, stress the whole thing, right? I'm in line for that. So, but I want to fix that, but it's scaring the hell out of me to think about.
So let me make this easy for you. You're asking me the question. Your heart's telling you to ask me the question. What do you think the answer is?
Go for it.
Thank you. If you were that fearful, you wouldn't have asked. And the same thing for everybody. You don't have to ask the person to your left, am I right, or the person to the right. You need to drop into your heart. But the ego aside, by the way, in one of the QR codes in the bottom, there's an ego subconscious meditation. It's not really meditation, it's an explanation. It tells you how to take your ego, kick him or her to the side for just a little bit, and then ask the question without interference, because your ego will always influence the way you feel and the way you think. When you put it to the heart, it's busy, and you're able to tap in and get the true answer that you're looking for, however hard it may be. But I will never tell you, I won't answer a question like that for someone. I always tell them, you ask the question and then you... next? Yeah.
You mentioned ancestral trauma. What kind of trauma could there be from our ancestors?
You want me to Okay, so if you don't mind, I'm gonna share with them what just happened here. So this particular ancestor was murdered, and a lot of them are murdered, but they had their back severed in the lower part of the spine. Okay, and they survived for a little while, all right, which caused the trauma, and they were stuck in that position. They couldn't go over to the other side, so they were from the ancestors. The other thing I find with ancestral trauma is sometimes that ancestor was a really bad person, and they've done some really bad things, and they're afraid to be judged when they go over.
So you're saying that energy is transferred then?
It's pulling from you. Everything, we say ancestor as if it's in the past. Everything that's ever happened is happening at the exact now. So they're pulling that energy from you so they can stay where they're at because they're afraid to go over. Sometimes it's trauma because they did things bad. Other time it's trauma because they just experienced trauma of death. So what I did is I had the angels come down. Again, back to the other question, I'm sorry, the angels came down and held the person while I spoke light language to that soul, who then agreed to give me their trauma ball. Here's all my trauma. You can think of it as getting rid of the lead weight so you can float. Literally like that. That happened. Angel took them in their arms, took them up. I got rid of the trauma, and the energy was severed, and then I had her stand up again. That's how quick that happened. Everything is happening in the now. It's hard to conceptualize, all right, unless you're a quantum physicist and you're doing all those double-slit experiments or the Schrodinger's cat experiment, whatever that is. It's hard to conceptualize. Everything's happening in the now. And that's why here, it's like this. So when I do a session, the very first thing I say is, again, right, show me your owie, and I'll work on that usually almost immediately, because I need them to believe and to understand everything else is also that fast. Okay? Yeah.
So is it very common for you to deal with past life contracts and trauma?
Yeah.
Does it
Well,
happen a lot?
it's funny, I don't find past life words when I see contracts. Like I see an entity, I'll see a contract, and I'll deal with that. I don't deal so much with the past life stuff, right? Unless it's a energetic attachment. So, great question, but that actually doesn't come up often. Contracts, all day long. Okay. But usually they're contracts with entities, and those contracts happen because a person had a experience of I can live or I can die. Some point, now I'm going to say some point in the past, but there's a contract where something came along and says we're going to keep you alive, but you just got to be my friend. And these contracts are created and they go through until they're broken, and they're designed to cause you incredible turmoil in your 3D world, whether it be financial or relationship or health. All right, they're designed to bring that down so they can feed off of that energy. That's what they do. They feed off your energy. You're like a low energy nuclear whatever, and that's they suck that down. All right, so those got to be broken in order for the healing to occur. Okay, yeah.
So you said that you get upgrades.
Yes.
And you mentioned that did someone tell you that you are going to be able to work on eyes in the future? Or
Yes.
How do you know that?
I ask.
Yeah, and so
I drop into my heart and I ask.
How do you know when that is?
That's a great question. And every time I've asked for a date and a time and a date, like let's make a date for this, it's missed. I've learned to not ask the when. Now I'll get general timings, like my next upgrade, I'm understanding is coming in the next few weeks. Now what that will consist of, I don't ask. I have other upgrades coming around August. What that consists of, I don't ask. Now will it be sooner, will it be later? Everything shifts. All right, but yes, I do ask. Now before I didn't, this upgrade out of the year. Jeez. But I never knew when, right? And trust me, when I heard about it, I'm like, can we do it Saturday? Yeah, but it's not up to me. They just do it. And I think I'm a little unusual with my spiritual gifts in the fact that while I have some, they just keep coming and coming and coming, which typically isn't the case. Usually when you come in, you have these gifts, you focus on those gifts, you deliver those gifts to humanity. It's just a little different. Okay, does that help? Okay, cool. Yeah.
When you talk about healing, for instance, like I have COPD, so I have like 35% lung capacity. So when you say healing, that doesn't bring it back to 100%. It just means
it doesn't.
It doesn't get worse.
It doesn't. Wait a minute. It doesn't.
I don't know. I'm asking. I don't know how.
Her back's better.
Well, it's better than it was.
No,
but
it's healed.
It goes back to 100%.
Eat an egg sandwich.
Does anybody want to answer that question? I work on lung capacity a lot. And I will guarantee you, I won't guarantee anything, I will tell you historically, they are taking deep breaths when they walk out of here. We had a lady show up that was on what are they, respirators? What are those things?
It's oxygen tank.
And it took her 10 minutes to get from that door to that chair. She couldn't say anything, she couldn't talk, she just had to catch her breath. And another 6 or 7 minutes from that door to the chair, then we had to wait. And I removed the thing that was attacking her and cleared the energy, and she walked out to the car without it. Okay, yes. Now, she had the occurrence of other stuff, right? Those were attacks against her, a little different. But yes, I can do all that. Everything happens. You have to understand, I am bringing in the healed version of that lung and replacing energetically what's physically there. I've had, cysts disappear on the CAT scan 2 days later that were there, right? I've had brain tumors disappear at the MRI that was 3 days after the session, right?
Don't you think the pulmonologist, when they see the next CAT scan or X-ray and see it perfectly healed, all of a sudden they'd want to know, how did you do that?
Yeah,
And then
they ask those
it's
questions.
you that did that, and then it creates a big problem for you possibly?
Well, did you notice my statement in the beginning?
Right.
I don't diagnose the doctor, I don't do any of that. It doesn't make a problem for me because I'm not telling the doctor I did it. The patient is going there and they're saying, hey, this is there. And I can tell you there are certain people that I work with that do go to the doctors and they tell them their story. And the doctors are like, wow.
Wouldn't they be sending you everybody?
No.
No.
Oh no. Oh no. That would violate every contract that doctor has with what it, no, absolutely not. Careful not to, I mean, I'm telling you, it's a dangerous place. And again, this is why I'm not a doctor. And I don't pretend to be one. So, yes.
So let's talk a little bit about implants, because that's something.
Energetic implants?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could explain that.
Yeah, I will.
About implants.
So she's asking the question about energetic implants. So again, I can see the energy, and we have an etheric field around us, right? And we have a certain vibration. We're always trying to raise our vibration. When we have really, really happy days, we're vibrating high. When we have really bad days, we're vibrating low. On your spiritual journey, though, it's a little different, where you're really always trying to get up. And it's not even an emotional happiness, it's a frequency of the body. Well, there are things around us within a foot or two that are designed to, kick in and lower your vibration. So you can't reach your spiritual levels. And I'm able to see those things and pluck them out. I can see the body. So when we talk about implants, they are energetic implants, not physical. You're not going to see them on an X-ray, so on and so forth, right? But I can catch these and I can see them pull these out. And this allows a person to rise up to whatever they need to be. Okay? Yes?
Okay, so I'm a little confused. You're talking about the ancestral stuff, but then the past lives. What is the difference?
Well, there's really no difference necessarily, but we're talking about why a certain condition isn't healing when I work on it. And it's because that ancestral trauma, the condition, is got a connection, an energetic connection that has to be broken. And that's why I have to heal them in order for them, you no longer to have that pain. And typically, nearly every single time, you know, when there is ancestral trauma, right, your thyroid. I had an incident the other day where, I think it might have been today, whatever, but the ancestral trauma was because the person was sliced in their throat, but right across their thyroid. So I had to heal that. Yes. You could call past life trauma ancestral trauma, but you could call past life regression and past life stories and things like that. I don't deal with that. I might have been where we were talking about, I'm not exactly sure. So past life, ancestral, interchangeable. You could say, let me know about my ancestral history, and I'm not your guy. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of entanglements. Entanglement, quantum entanglement. Everything connected to the other.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you only work on one issue at a time? For
I don't know. His fingers are feeling better, and I was working on her back. So, right now, for me to do the healing, it is me observing healing taking place. So in the quantum, once we observe something, that's the reality we create. By me observing the thing being healed and doing all the different things I was telling you earlier, yes. Now, can I observe the whole body being healed? I can't today. Talk to me in 3 months. I don't know. Yeah, there's somebody else, or are we all good? I'm sorry, one more? Yeah, and the last one.
Ask a little more about the energetic implants.
Okay, sure.
You said they were designed, intentionally
Mhm.
placed around us
Yeah.
to keep us.
Yeah, keep our frequency level.
Okay.
For me, I put them there before I got here. Now my energetic implants, I found them. I could go further. I found them. Okay? Other times, they could be put there from disease or things like that that just kind of lodge in there. And other times, if you are one of those ET special people doing ET special stuff, the ETs will watch you with them and plant those in. So different ways they show up.
Okay, thank
Okay, cool. I'd like to thank everybody. It's been a long night, and I hope everyone got something out of it, and I appreciate it. Thank you.